So you're saying, in the effort to elevate women throughout society, men have been largely left behind in a lot of ways. What do you think is the message that a lot of men should be hearing in the world? What can we do to support men, Destiny?
Oh man, here we go. Okay.
I got my prescription whenever you're
Yeah,
ready.
that's fine. Okay. Yeah, so this is where I'll fight against a lot of like the red pill spaces, right? So I think that the number one explainer for women's success is women historically have been very feminine because they're females and biology and blah, 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 blah. One of the things that women have done over the past like few decades is they've incorporated successfully a lot of aspects of masculinity into their character that we previously thought weren't possible. We didn't think that women would excel at school. We didn't think that women could participate in certain STEM fields. We didn't think that women could start to make all the gains in a lot of these peripheral industries that they started to. And for a lot of places where they have, right? So places like being like lawyers and stuff, not necessarily in STEM, although that's starting. So as that's happened, as women have made those gains in masculinity, we're kind of like looking at men. Men have basically they're kind of still masculine, but we haven't worked on kind of like rounding out like how men navigate the world at all, which would probably be the incorporation of some feminine features. So being emotionally intelligent, being able to communicate with people on a better level, having some level of like measured control of themselves.
Would probably decrease the suicide rates among men.
Oh,
if that
Potentially, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
what we've
sure.
done is we've kind of like shit on men completely. So the left will say like, fuck men, figure it out. And then the red pill comes in and it's like, you need to be even more masculine. But it's like, the reality is 50, 60, 70 years ago, if you wanted a wife, all you needed was a paycheck because she's not going to school and she's not working.
Yeah.
Now
You
that
don't
they're going
need
to
it
school and
anymore.
working, you got to have more. What's the value proposition for a woman to get into a relationship? It can't just be that you have a job anymore.
I just wanted to add, you're absolutely right.
Just on
I
a
do
roll.
think that men are like, I don't want to say oppressed, but yeah, pretty much nowadays they are. Like you see people saying men ain't shit, men ain't that. And you wonder why the suicide rates are so high because we don't give the same amount of support to men as we do to women. There's women's support groups, there's women this, women that, but we need to focus on men as well.
That's true, but
That's what he's
arguably
saying.
one of the
Yeah,
one of
that's
the
what I'm saying.
impediments to bring up the patriarchy thing, one of the impediments to that I think is this idea of like what is an ideal man or what is a man supposed to be? Because suicide rates for men have always been high, but so have things like violent crime rates, so have things like homicide rates, so have things like incarceration rates. And it's not just because the judges are unfair. In some cases they are. It's because men are the ones that are out in the streets like getting work done when shit is falling
I
apart.
think Andrew Tate is the response too, because like,
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
He's 1,000%. Like that's why like during World War II, like everybody suddenly voted someone into power, right? Because he was fucking very extreme on the other side of things. So I think he's just representing a gigantic vacuum that's needed because you know, I left America in 2012, right? I haven't lived here consistently since like, you know, I lived here for like 11 months, 2016, and I saw enough writing on the wall to get the fuck out of here. But when I come back to America, it's just like consistently this like, how can we put more accountability on men and how can we take more accountability away from women? And then like the mainstream media, the music, the video games, like you're in the gaming industry too, you know, like everything is just like piling on to shit on men and like endlessly jerk off women. And guys are kind of just like, all right, like it's kind of gotten to this point where it's fucking ridiculous. Like guys absolutely have issues too, but men are just not going to sit around and cry and feel sorry for themselves. But women will, 9 times out of 10, they will do that. You know what I mean?
I mean, men do that too.
They
I wanna-
I agree with you, but there's not a social stigma around men crying about the
Well,
bullshit
true,
in their
because
life.
sometimes instead of crying, they just kill themselves. Right?
I wanna-
Fair play
Yeah.
compared to women, you know what I mean? So that's why I think this Tate thing is like it's a giant pendulum swing back.
It is, but the only
Jonathan
issue.
and-
Or go ahead.
Jonathan and Stephen, I want to get back to the original question. Asking in terms of your prescription to help support men better in our society so we can restore male
I have mine.
greatness. I know. And I also want to hear from John on this too. We can go Stephen, John, and then John. You mentioned better emotional tools for men. You also mentioned men. It needs to be clarified what men are bringing to the table beyond just a paycheck, because now that we're past the 1950s, as you were saying, that's not enough of a value proposition. So that needs to be clarified. What else would you say needs to be added to the equation to best support men?
I feel like the spaces that are designed right now for men, I'll broadly say like the manosphere, are not doing a good job. So the only space, if you are a man and you're looking for support, and then you come to these spaces, personally, I feel like they give like some of the worst advice in terms of like how to succeed, right? I'm going to be really cringe here, and I'm going to borrow from Ben Shapiro. I think he has like 3 classic
Beta,
points.
not a high value man.
Yeah, I think he has 3 classic points for have at least escaping poverty. I believe 1 is don't have a kid before you're married.
Facts.
I think 2 is graduate high school, and I think 3 was get a job, wasn't it? Was that number 3? But these are like really, really
Common
basic
sense
things.
indicators, for
yeah.
sure.
And I feel like, so for instance, when I come to Red Pill spaces, something that's really, in my opinion, really sad is the constant shunning of like college and higher education.
Yeah.
Because that is when you look at all of the successful people. I don't know if I can say it, but like in these red pill spaces, there's a lot of like wealthy controllers of society that people are like, oh, these guys run everything, they're doing everything, blah blah blah. And then it's like, okay, well, fine, let's say they do that. Well, what do they do with their kids? Their kids are like a guy whose name is Goldstein. He's not training his kid to be the best drop shipper. Okay, he's not training his kid to get into crypto. He's sending his kid to the best universities in the world to get a high quality education, to graduate and do shit with his life. And it feels like in these spaces, you demonize the out of college education.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to say that there are things like apprenticeships or going into trades, which is good, I fully agree with that 100%. But oh my God, if there's like one piece of advice I can impart that you would care that a blue-haired cuck would tell you online, if you're a man and you're trying to make it in the world, you are way better off becoming an electrician or a plumber if you don't want to go to college, because I flunked out of school. Okay, I understand school. Okay, or I quit school. Right? If you want to do that, at least pick up a trade. Don't try to make it in this crypto drop shipping world, because you're not going to make it.
Based recommendation of the trades. Give me some.
Thanks, yeah.
I learned a couple years ago that like if a young guy wants to get into welding, for example, he can be making over $120,000 a year.
2 years.
From the start of his education, 2 years into it, he can be making six figures.
Yeah.
And like there's not enough of that being preached. So I completely
And you don't
agree.
see, and the problem too is that when it comes to crypto, you can see all the winners, you don't see all the losers,
which
okay?
are huge, like 90% plus.
Yeah. And even a lot of the winners eventually become losers.
Yeah.
Did you ever see? I don't want to call anybody in particular. I'm so sorry, but like
Call
one
him
of the
out, call him
funniest. Do you remember when Boogie 2988?
Yeah.
He made a video about how happy he was that a huge crypto investment paid off. Was it 2 months or was it a year later or whatever? He was like, guys, listen up, I'm selling the Tesla. Because my shit got fucked. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
You got rugged.
I think it doesn't help that. Well, I love Andrew.
Hold
Tate,
on.
but-
He's been waiting
yeah,
to speak.
sorry.
I want to go to him.
John and John.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, my thing is I run something called the Masculine Empowerment Network, right? MEN. And so I tell guys like
It's a good name.
The general, the rule of life that a man should focus on, I call the core four, which is make money, make muscles, learn game, and hold frame. That's my prescription. I know you don't like the general red pill prescription. I'm like, the red pill has kind of like adopted me as one of their spokespeople, but I'm just my own thing. And I will say to the red pill community too, which camera is it? This one? I don't know. That one? that
the
one right
camera,
there.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So I will say this in Destiny's defense, guys, for you guys that are red pill and jumping on Destiny's fucking, back for bullshit. He's his own man. He's made his own money, and he's decided to live his own way of life. If that's not red pill, I don't know what the fuck to say it is, because he's not like a slave to the system. He has his own things, and that you guys have to learn to like be okay with encountering people in life who don't agree with the way you live. And I think it's pretty obvious, like you're clearly, if we were to categorize it like a high value man, like objectively speaking, I mean, I know. I'm talking to the chat, not you. You already know this, but like multiple women having, autonomy, having a good amount of financial income. So anyways, going back to the thing, my thing is just simply this. I tell them the exact same thing you say. I say, make money, which is have a career or skill that will ideally lead you to six figures at some point down the road within 5 to 7 years. Make muscles, which is basically just don't be fat. I mean, everybody in America is so fucking fat. It blows my mind every time I come back here.
Don't be fat.
Don't
or
be
lift.
fat.
Are you telling you're meant to
Bro,
lift?
and also
So-
even you don't even
Chase,
have to
can we
lift,
see the
just like
tries?
walk 30 minutes a day. Anything to get you out of your house.
So
Yeah.
right, but the general message is don't
Walk.
be fat, which
Sure.
is not okay because biologically speaking, that's just terrible for you, right?
Sure.
Learn game is just understanding the difference between a good woman who is like genuinely interested in you and a woman who has, other ulterior motives for you, which, and now today, those are very, common. And then hold frame, which is basically a guy needs to understand the concept of boundaries, because I think a lot of men and women don't have an idea of the concept of boundaries. I found out about the concept of boundaries when I was 35. I'm 37 now, and I wish I could understand what boundaries were, and then more importantly, the enforcement of those boundaries as well. So that's what I tell guys to focus on the core four: make money, make muscles, learn game, hold frame, money, muscles, game, frame. That's my prescription. I don't know if you disagree with it, but that's my solution that I run for this, because I have a lot of guys too. I have people within the Masculine Empowerment Network that teach these guys how to code, teach these guys how to get jobs in cybersecurity, teach them about there are viable options in the trades. Like, for example, power linemen. Like within 10 years, America's going to be really fucking shit out of luck when it comes to power linemen. Now, these jobs can get you up to $200,000
Is it power
a year.
alignment?
Power linemen. These are the guys who climb the
Power linemen.
Power linemen,
The dudes
yeah.
taking care of the power lines. Gotcha.
Exactly, And these jobs can get you to 200,000 with under 5 years. You know what I mean? Because this whole influencer bullshit, like I'm a creator, I'm this, I'm a fucking crypto millionaire. No, you're not.
People will say shit like the West is falling and like every kid wants to be a YouTuber, and you're like, don't be a YouTuber, be a dropshipper.
Yeah, exactly. So like, do you like from what I know it's a very TLDR prescription I give you, but that's my perspective on
Yeah,
this.
sure. So like, I would agree with the 4, but what we're probably going to fight is like what you mean by 3 and 4. Like learn, game, hold frame are going to be the things that we disagree. So like, for instance, when you talk about like the importance of boundaries, I would argue, and I don't want to go back and forth too much because I know you want to say something. I would argue that like a boundary that I would consider to be very strange is like the big push in some of these spaces for like one-sided open relationships.
Yeah.
That seems like something that is like, I don't think I would ever advocate for my audience to try to pursue
But
something
you
like
do
that.
realize there are women that are okay with that.
I mean, and there are men that are okay getting fucked in the ass, but we wouldn't say that like everybody should be homosexual, right?
But I mean, I'm just
Is
saying a
it
boundary is a
degenerate?
boundary. A boundary is a boundary. And I'm just saying that.
Depends on if you've had an enema first.
I don't think those sort of relationships is going to be successful in most cases.
What is
so
not?
I don't think those sort of relationships is going to be successful in those.
But the
cases,
I
right?
mean, it's going to have a higher success relationship than being in an open relationship, because open relationships, especially when the woman is out there sleeping around, have a 92% failure rate.
Yeah, but what is the failure rate for one-ended open relationships?
I don't know.
Yeah, probably really high
I don't
too,
know,
right?
but
It seems
I will say men have been doing that a lot since the beginning
will
of
say-
like
But
time.
here- wait,
Maybe they
real
should
quick.
be ashamed of it at least.
What?
Wait,
If
what
it's
do
a
you say?
one-sided open relationship, maybe it should be like something considered shameful and not something that's promoted.
Yeah, I just, yeah, my biggest issue, and this is maybe my feminist coming out, is I think a big issue today is asymmetry in relationships, pushing
Makes
for
you feel
asymmetry.
trapped if you're a woman.
Yeah,
if
and
you're
pushing-
if you can't do things like you, let's say that you
But
say
regular-
I'm not okay with an open relationship on just your side, and I say okay, but in that case I'm gonna dump you, and she doesn't have a job, she doesn't have like any stability, and she
That's
just feels like she needs to,
hyper
like, keep-
extreme. I don't
Why
think
doesn't
I feel like
she
this
have
is a
people
lot
are
of
not going to
cases.
get in a relationship like and then kind of disclose that later after they're married, and she's fully dependent on the guy. She's quit her job.
It seems
It's got
to
to
bring
that
things-
point.
Well, also to bring things around, though, that's one of the issues is what Tate kind of did, right? Is I love you, come to Romania, we're going to get married, we're going to be a couple,
So,
we're going to do things. And then, I know you want to comment on it, but I'm saying that was kind
I
of
don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of telling a woman to move to another country and quit her job and be fully dependent on me in a manipulative standpoint. I don't do that.
I just wanted to say, like, I'm not trying to be a pick-me, but I'm just saying that as a woman, I do want to support a man no matter what. Like, no matter what he chooses to do, whether it be drop shipping as unsuccessful as he might be, I want to be there every step of the way. However, I do think that people should also, like women themselves, should try to get jobs to help support the family, to help support everyone else, because you don't want to end up like you're saying, like how Tate is just bringing women in and then like he just dumps them and then they have
True.
nothing else to
But
do.
a lot
will-
of these men kind of want to have like a wife at home with kids that's taking care of the kids like full time.
Yeah, but at the same
there's
time,
like no
taking-
space to have a job.
At the same time, taking care of the kids and taking in the man does involve trying to find financial stuff for yourself, trying to fund it, trying to like make, money,
yeah,
make a living.
I'm for it. I think
That's
there
a
should
part
be
of
like
it.
equal,
Would
like when it
you
comes to work and
have
stuff.
John go, then I have to get caught up on donations because we're really behind. So
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.